Hey, Smutty Babes, I'm Aubrie,
And I'm Paiton.
and today we are reviewing the fourth book in the Flesh and Fire series, Born of Blood and Ash by Little Miss JLA.
Yes, so George the cup of coffee as we dive between these paper sheets. Let's do this. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to yet
Hey.
another review of a JLA book. So, guys, we're coming here with a heavy heart because we're back, and this is book 4 of the Flesh and Fire series. But we are going to quickly jump into this book in a bit. Aubrie is going to get us up to speed with this series and where we are thus far. Because, man, if you're not on this train now, don't probably don't
Don't
jump
jump
on.
in.
Don't jump in. But this is our non-spoiler section, and then we're gonna get into our spoiler section pretty fast because we have some things to say. But here's our overall idea of where you're at so far. This is a
Yes.
spoiler free for this book. It is a spoiler for books 1 through 3.
Yes, and kind of also books 1 through 9. This is book 10
Oh
in
my
the
god.
From Blood and Ash cinematic universe.
Holy shit.
This is like my nemesis. Okay, guys. So also trigger warning for me being mean. This book starts off with us back in the Shadowlands after Ash has rescued Sarah from Delos and Colus's like kidnapping weirdness of the entirety of the last book, and then Ash like didn't actually have his heart but regained his heart because they're heartmates when he
Yes. My cardia.
chose to ascend her, committing the cardinal sin in this series. Because if you think about it, like all of the other stuff, like it's always just like men making really bad decisions with their loved ones. Thankfully, this one paid off though, because Sarah, our girl, ascends to the true primal of life, which is kind of slay of her. And so now shit has to get done. If you have read the main series from Blood and Ash series, you know where A Soul of Ash and Blood left off was Colas waking back up and Poppy's mom, the Queen Isabel or whatever, choosing to like kill her like lover instead of killing Poppy to raise Colas back up. And so we know that like everything that happens in this book, you know that like ending point.
Yes.
And so we just gotta work.
Like, how do we get there? And I was
How
curious.
are we getting there?
I've been curious.
Absolutely. I was
Yeah.
less curious finding out.
Yes, I was like, I didn't need to know this. It's all right.
So the plot of this book, I want to let you guys know in a little secret. Have you ever heard of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson? It is book 1 of the Stormlight Archive. We talk all the time about how it's massive and it's actually like 3 books in one, and he plots it as such, and he treats it with like consideration for how long these books are. This is just as long. Meaning this is longer than the Bible. This is like, I think, as long or longer than like fucking War and Peace. Okay? Just so we're all on the same page of just how massive this book is. This
It's
book
huge.
wasn't even supposed to exist. The prequel was supposed to be a trilogy ending in A Flesh in the Flame.
And she's like, hold my pen.
A
She's
Fire
like,
in the Flesh. My bad.
hold the presses.
And she decided she couldn't do it in one book. She had to do it in 2 massive, ginormous books, which is shocking considering how lacking the plot is in this book. There's nothing there.
Yeah, and of course, after I'm done reading a book, I jump right onto Goodreads. Want to know how everyone's
Yeah.
feeling, especially feeling so strongly after reading this book. I was like,
Yeah.
I cannot be the only one. And let's just say her Goodreads reviews are not looking too hot, people.
They
This book could easily have been 300 pages or shorter. Right off
For
the bat,
real.
without having any impact on the plot.
No.
That is how much
No.
filler is in this book.
It's not a spoiler to say that 60% of this book is meetings. And like
Yes.
meetings that could have been an email.
Like, we could have like condensed this to this could have been an email, people. This could have been like a, hey, we're gonna do this, or like Not even. We didn't even need it at all. So
It's
and I
wild.
put down on our list, I said, "You know when you have to buy the audiobook that the book is hard to get through."
Yes. Preach. Preach. Fun fact, I listened to this book at 3.5x speed.
Which, do me a favor, everyone, and if you really want to be annoyed with us, put this video on 3.5x speed
YouTube
and
doesn't even go that high, I don't think.
no
Let
way.
me let me give a taste of
Oh,
how
yes,
fast this is.
this is insane, people. I've done 2, and two's a lot for me.
One. Ash's voice coaxed me from sleep, feeling my pounding heartbeat slow. I forced a dry, almost painful swallow. My throat felt like I'd been screaming for days, years even. But I hadn't screamed since the city of the gods. Not since Delos. Cool lips brushed my cheek, and I immediately rolled toward the comfort of a long, hard body. An arm lifted, giving me the space to nestle against his chest.
I understood every word.
I got every third, fourth, maybe 10th word. I got Dalus, Colus, and chest.
Sum up the book, guys. Thanks. We're
That
done here.
that's it. That's all you needed to know.
Uh, Peyton and I were actually talking with someone at book club last night about this book, and she was like, "Oh, I like fantasy," and we were like, "Do not read it." Honestly, would not recommend. But the worst part is we used to love these
Oh,
books.
yeah.
Like,
It would have been the first one I would have recommended. I would have been like,
yeah.
well, Akatar's really trendy, but you should try From Blood and Ash.
I literally got my one friend for Christmas. I got her 2 books to introduce her into like the fantasy genre. I got her ACOTAR and From Blood and Ash, and I literally tell her now to say never mind. And it's so heartbreaking
Sucks.
because I love JLA's storytelling. I think her stories are so like captivating and eccentric and like exhilarating and sexy, and she has such a good way of getting you addicted to the page. And that's how the first like two and a half
Yes.
From Blood and Ash books and A Shadow in the Ember felt. Even A Shadow in the Ember, she had fired her editor. There were grammatical mistakes across the board. She was repeating sentences, and I still loved that book
Oh my
because the
goodness, yes.
storytelling was so fast paced, and I was so like addicted to wanting to know what happens. So when I tell you that I hated this book and it is making me hate her
Her.
as an author because it's set like she just became so fucking greedy in her little capitalist ways. I swear to God, From Blood and Ash started popping off. She's an indie author, which means she's making bank off of all of these books. She had us all like hooked in, like she knew we're gonna keep like idiots like us. We're fucking fools for continuing to read this series
And
because
buying these books
she
and buying
knew
the
we would.
audiobook because it sucks. So
Yeah,
we need to get through it. So we give
you
her more money for the audiobook.
Peyton bought the $30 hardcover version to match all of her other books
Yes.
and the $25 audiobook. Are you fucking kidding me? God, it fuels me with such anger because I was a fan. I had a a fall of ruin and wrath, which, oh, by the way, that phrase shows up a lot in this book to not be a part
Yes.
of the same series.
I
A Fall of Ruin and
know.
Wraith, her Bramble traditionally published book, was one of my top 5 books of the reads of 2023. I'm not like lying to you when I say that I like
Would
her
ride or
work,
die for this girl, but I'm
but
not
I
anymore.
hate this. It was
Yeah.
so horrible. I literally feel like she was like, "Oh, the more words I write, the more money I make. Let me throw in a few extra meetings. Let's throw the integrity of the story out the goddamn window
There's
for
nothing
money."
here. There's nothing here. The last 3 chapters, we read a whole other book told from the other series, which they're all connected, really.
Mhm.
And in that podcast, we literally said read the first chapter and the last chapter. Literally,
Yeah.
different book, same fucking story. Just read the first chapter and read the last 3 chapters. Like, everything in between is not worth it. Like, it's not.
No.
There are better books out there and better ways to spend your time. I took way too long to read this in my head when I could have been reading 5 other books on my TBR
Yeah.
and enjoying it. Reading is supposed to
Uh-huh.
be fun, and I got bored. Like, it's a boring freaking book, and
Yeah.
so now we have to be really honest, and now I have to be a little mean about it, but we're here for honesty and how we feel. For every one for every 5-star review on Goodreads, there were at least 10 2-star reviews to go along
As
with
there
it.
should be.
So I think if you are seriously, I don't know, if you have literally a smut addiction and just read this to like get off and like need sex scenes then like this is your book. But like quite frankly, we are actually fantasy readers who like romantasy, and we want to see that push and pull and that
Yeah.
intrigue, and just not,
Well,
we're gonna meet and talk and then something weird's gonna happen and we're gonna meet and talk again. Like, it's just, guys, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
even the sex scenes were exhausting and repetitive.
And kind of gross.
And yeah, I wasn't love like I literally have read Wattpad erotica that's better than this. Like even if you just want to get off, I honestly don't know if this is the book for you because there's so many goddamn meetings.
Yeah, you're gonna
Like
be like, okay, when are the sex scenes?
who reads a fantasy book and is like, "You know what I'm looking forward to? Meetings."
Quite frankly, this book, it's crazy. Honestly,
Sad.
I'm sad. You know, when you have like a really good
Yeah.
friend in life and they take a turn for the worse, and you're with them for like years and years, and then you're like, you know
Yeah.
what? Good riddance. Like, you are not adding any quality into my life. You are not helping. This is not fun
Yeah.
anymore. I would much rather take you for who you were when we were like, 16 in high school together versus who you are now. Like, let's say 10 books when we're both 26 now, because you have not become a person I like. I want back
No.
the
I
Red
want back my
Pearl.
friend.
I want chapter 1 from Blood and Ash back. I want chapter 1 from A Shadow in the Ember. Like, the
Yeah.
apps, like Niktos, who is the love interest in this book, Ash, he was like my crush, like my man crush. If you go to our first post of like on our Instagram, my like favorite love interest
Yeah.
was Niktos. And it's like, what happened? Because like I don't know if I could say that now. Like,
No.
it's
No,
crazy.
it's so wild and I feel like I don't know, maybe JLA has a bad marriage or something because whenever these couples like get married, she just changes how they like interact with
Act.
one another
Oh, we'll
and
get to
act.
that. I
And
cannot wait to get to that in our
there's
spoiler sections.
so
But
much
yes.
like infantilization in both this series and the other one where like suddenly we're treating the badass killer FMC as if she's a child, like a literal child. I just there's so many things that just ick me out.
Lots of icky icks.
Yeah,
So
it's really disappointing.
like I wrote down here, the last 35% was really good, probably worth a solid like 4 stars, like a low
Maybe.
4 stars, but like I got fed at the end of the book with the information I was like really excited to know in the like
Yeah.
middle of the book. But the first 65% felt so long and so pointless that I
Mhm.
cannot give this a higher rating than 2.5 stars. Like, for
No.
overall for the book. For it to tank that much just because it was a waste of my fucking time. Like, cut me a check, JLA, because I clocked in to read your book and literally I was not getting paid. So like,
No.
I need some compensation from my time reading your book. I'm not mean, but like that, I try to
Ugh.
be really sincere and like try to like, when I read a book and I genuinely don't like it, sometimes it's just me. I felt this way with Divine Rivals. I didn't love that book, but I
Yeah.
understand that's a really good book and there's a crowd for it. And so I'm
And it was just
respectful.
personal preference.
It's personal preference. This book was not well written. This book felt
No.
like a capitalist scheme for me to buy it twice so I could get
Yes.
through it and feel included in this series still.
Mhm.
And it's really upsetting because I really felt very strong. Like, sincerely, I want people to know felt very strongly about the series. I loved it. I shared it with my mother. Got her back into reading. Like, so this really sucks. But I was bored for most of the first half, and it took me forever to finish it. If it wasn't for a deadline I gave myself, which was today, this morning when I
Yeah.
finished it, I probably would have DNF'd it, or I just wouldn't have finished it. So, and I thought it was funny because book 1 was 5 stars.
Mhm.
Book 2 was 4 stars. Book 3 was 3 stars. Book 4 is 4 stars. If this bitch like get 5 stars, 5 books for the prequel, this thing would be 0. But I just want to. I just want
Yeah.
to start it. I just want to start it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are sucker punched into this series.
Yeah,
And
I have to commit to the
honestly,
bit at some point.
If you can find enjoyment in this, sure, keep reading.
Oh my gosh,
If
yeah.
not, I would spark note it. I'd watch our fucking videos. I'd say screw it. I don't care and come up with an ending of how this book ends in your head because it's probably just as good, if not better, than what she's going to come up with. Considering the length of time and commitment we're going to have to put into this series to finish it out. I am genuinely, like you said, like it's almost like a friendship breakup.
Yeah.
And
like,
it was like
I'm just sad.
like you have that shitty boyfriend who started off so good, and I just kept making excuses for her. That's what infuriates me so much.
It kind of offended you.
Is that people, when book 3 of From Blood and Ash came out, people were like, this doesn't seem as good. And I was like, guys, but the ending, but the epicness. I was like, it's worth it. It's worth it.
It was.
And then
And
A
now
Shadow
it's
and
not.
Ember came out, and people were like, this is really horrible. She doesn't have an editor. And I was like, guys, but the storytelling, but the tension and the romance between
Yes.
Sarah and Ash is sexy and hot in a way I've never like seen before. And then War of Two Queens comes out, and I'm like, this was a bad book. She let us down on the joining. I was like, but hey, Poppy and Castile were separated for a majority of this book. Romantasy authors struggle when the characters aren't together. And I'm like, it's okay. She's going to pop off with another good one. And then A Light in the Flame, I think I liked that one.
I like that one.
A Flesh in the Fire, we were laughing our asses off because we couldn't take the material seriously anymore.
Yeah.
A Soul of Ash and Blood came around, and I was like, this was a little capitalist. This was a little greedy.
Okay,
She saw the
JLA.
success of Midnight Sun. She wanted it for herself. I was like, this was bad, but eventually we're going to get back to the main story and it's going to be great, right? Right? I say, as a child, looking up to the adult in my life who's always going to fail her, because then what the hell was A Fire in the Flesh and this book? If it would have been written as planned, as both of those two books as one, with the length of one of the regular books in the series, that would have been a banger book. If everything that happened in A Fire in the Flesh and Born of Blood and Ash happened in 600 pages,
Done.
and we cut out all the meetings and we cut out the relentless like being captured and just bad nothing happening, but you feel horribleness of the previous book, that could have been a good book. But it wasn't, because she was a greedy fucking capitalist.
But I will say, because she's like here and there and there, and this person comes in. I'm like, who the fuck are you? I use my compendium guide.
I forgot about that one. The companion guide. Even that I defended, and I was like, hey, the lore's kind of thick. This could be
But
useful.
it still didn't give me the answers I wanted. Because she came out with it. She should have come out with the compendium guide after she fucking released this book where we learn a lot of stuff. Like, the bitch is dumb. Jennifer.
The next book better be giving God tier. The next book better
How
be
many times are
giving
we gonna say that?
book 2 of From Blood and Ash. If the next book does not feel like a Kingdom in the Flesh and Fire, I
What
am
are you
going
gonna
to
do?
riot. I am going to be putting
We're gonna be in the middle of our town, like with picket
I am
signs,
going
like,
to
who is
become
that?
the Kanye and Kim Kardashian West fans to Taylor Swift in 2016. I'm putting snake emojis in her every single post.
I think you
I'm
could get a crew behind you.
blaming her. I'm literally going to become her worst nightmare if this next book's not good.
You have to think. Like, wait, pull up your calculator right now. So say every book is, let's say $30.
Oh, I swear to God, we already have done this.
$30.
Yes.
How many books?
Times 10. This was the 10th.
Even with a compendium guide?
Yeah,
Okay.
300. That's $300 that
Just
you
for
have
her.
spent on fucking From Blood and Ash
Plus
books.
any audiobooks that like we've
Plus
added in
audiobooks?
there.
Plus the fact that we don't know when the series is gonna end. The next like
This is a rolling tab. The tab is still open right now, people.
doesn't mean I don't know if the last Poppy book's going to be the end of the series. I fucking doubt it. Anyways, I gave the book 2 stars.
Yeah. I gave it to. I have not given a book this low of a rating since like a book club book, which I don't care about. This is
Yeah.
my genre. This is my fantasy. I don't give fantasy books 2 stars, but this one is. This one's a 2-star. So we need
I had never given a book 2 stars in my life before. The one book club book, Reckless, and this.
Yeah.
This is the year of hate reading.
It's the year of hate reading. Yeah, I know. All these 2 stars have been for me this year. I felt the same
Yeah.
about Reckless. Honestly,
Yeah.
Reckless was better than this book. Like, we need to give Lauren Roberts a break. Go read Reckless instead of this book if you want to read like a okay
a
book.
shitty book.
Okay, so we need to get into I put down my
Yes,
so
yes,
random and not so random thoughts because this book really doesn't have any
Well,
plot.
we're moving into our spoiler section.
Yes, we're in our spoiler section, so we're going to
Welcome.
openly talk about things.
The whole 3 things that happened, we get to talk about now.
Yeah. These are all
Alright.
just thoughts of like things that I like was like, haha, that was funny that I saw that in like a not good way, not good, haha. Or things that I'm like, oh, this will be back, or this we're gonna see this in the next book, things like that. But
Yeah.
nothing. We're not. I don't. There's because there's not really plot. There's more so. There's not plot until the last like 30% of the book. This is kind of rambly, but this is because this is what she's given me. You
That's
feel
what
me?
she's given. Can we talk about Sarah's arc for a minute? So the book starts off in chapter 2. She gets kidnapped by like the 4 black horsemen.
Oh yeah.
She has to prove herself worthy to be able to summon this world ender people, whatever. And in that, she has to like slay the monster, and she finds out the monster is actually her. And because she's like always had like this darker, like apathetic side. That was kind of cool. But as the book continues, for a while, she's like, I should make decisions of how I think like a loving queen of life should make. And that ended up being the wrong thing. The moral of the book was be yourself, even if yourself is
killing others.
is happy in violence.
Yeah.
Like, it's so beyond wild and like out of left field. Like, what are JLA's personal morals pushing this message? Like, I read Babel by R.F. Kuang, and in it, the whole theme of the book, it's on the fucking like cover, is the necessity for violence. It's good people being forced into violence for change. Sarah's whole thing was like, I shouldn't be violent. And then it was like, actually, you should. Actually, you being violent is the best part of yourself, and you shouldn't. Like, it was like encouraging people to let their bad sides roll and say that that's just as like important as your like good sides. I don't know. It just felt icky.
Her arc was really interesting because, like, once again, another JLA main character where she becomes whiny.
Yeah.
And it's like, I really liked Sarah as a character. I like Sarah more than Poppy, but she just took her and was like, okay, you have all these badass powers. Okay, well, you're going to become really whiny about them instead of like,
yeah.
And then like her take on like her trauma and dealing with it, and like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of it I like skirted over. I'm like, this is filler and I don't need to know. Like, I get it. And like,
Yeah.
I like that she was able to approach some hard topics, like Sarah dealing with the fact that she's like, but you know, I feel this way and I feel really damaged and I don't feel okay about this, but I shouldn't feel that way because people have had it much worse than me. And why do I, you know, like, I thought those were really good messages. I just don't know if they were effectively
delivered
to the crowd.
And it's exhausting when
to read over and over again.
So repetitive. Like, I get the message. I understand it, and I understand that if you are a sexual abuse victim, that it is repetitive, and that's part of it. But at the end of the day, the tone of these books is not like that shouldn't be the only message in the book. And that shouldn't be the only plot in the book. That shouldn't be Sarah's only like I don't know.
About her. So this is the big thing.
Yeah.
I said, I literally wrote this down. This is my first note I made about the whole book, which was at page 300. because nothing happened for 300 pages.
Honestly.
I said this can be a really quick review if we want it to be, because the first 300 pages felt like it was a lot of "you don't deserve what happened to you," and then they smashed. Sadly, as is the case with a few couples I love in romanticises, it annoys me how they can just seem to resist the lust for each other, even in the least appropriate moments. It is really inappropriate to have a very intense sex scene after talking about being like essayed. Like there is nothing like what? Like, what? We're gonna
Yeah.
talk about a heavy thing that people actually deal with in real life, and then you're going to smash after in a very fantasy way, which is fine. But don't try to like incorporate really raw, hard things people go through.
It was
Play
like she
this,
couldn't handle the tone shift. And I think that that
yeah.
could have been done well. Like the idea
Just don't
of
smash after. I don't know, like it just felt
well, and
icky.
even like if you're going to get something heavy off your chest and then want to switch gears and have sex or something, because like I'm not like, that's one thing, but she did not handle it in
With
in a
decorum.
yeah, it was like she wanted to do something serious, but she also was like, hey, the last book didn't have a lot of sex in it.
Yeah.
Or like when they were fucking before meeting with Colas because Niktos just couldn't keep his goddamn chill. Oh my god, the possessive alpha holes. Thank you, Sarah J. Maas, for that word.
Yeah.
Niktos is the embodiment of a possessive asshole. Like when she's pregnant, I know this is skipping ahead, but when she's pregnant and the doctor's looking at her and he's growling and like she tries to like
She's
I
like
don't
a
know,
low
poke fun of
growl.
it because
Yeah.
Sarah is like not totally okay with it. I'm like, that's such like toxic, gross behavior. If I'm at the doctor's and like a professional has to touch me, or like whenever any man was talking to Sarah, ew,
Ew.
ew,
Oh, it's
ew.
like relax. Because then she's
Urgh.
like, "Oh, he's not gonna like this." It's like screw him.
Yeah.
Um. So,
Mm,
so what I did like in the beginning is Sarah's learning how to use her newfound primal powers, which is just like a great
yeah.
opportunity to kind of flex. None of her training really was great for me, except her
No.
communication with the Draken, because I love dragons. I'm like,
Yeah.
love it. Anything Draken, I will defend the day I die. Nectus, do not fucking touch my baby Nectus. Okay,
Don't touch my man.
Reaver. I mean, I know, things happen in later books, but still, do not touch them. This is the only reason why this book gets 2 stars, because of Nectus, because he's the best. So I love
Yeah.
her and her relationship with the Draken, because they are connected and they can talk in each other's minds and like all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
Oh,
know me,
and
I love
like
that.
Sarah's giving Reaver anxiety.
Yeah, he's like, "You're making
That's so
me
funny.
anxious." I thought like that was really fun. But I thought it was really cool when she shadow stepped for the first
Mhm.
time. And I thought like that was funny. Like we saw the banter between not her but like their little inner circle,
Yeah.
and it was really fun. Like I enjoyed that. I had to write that down because that's one good thing that I was like, "Hey."
Gotta
But I
focus on
will
the
say
positives.
I enjoyed seeing her come into her own powers and discover them, but of course, in JLA fashion, the more powerful Sarah got, the less powerful Ash got. And now I understand it's also because he literally was like, Coles was like, "Fine, I'll be the primal
Yeah.
of death then."
There's a lore reason, but
Yeah. But like he just like loses everything then, and there's literally a part in the book where she's like, "Oh, I feel really bad. Like what's Ash like? Is Ash going to feel less then because I have powers and he doesn't?" I'm like, once again, what kind of relationship does JLA have? Like her husband that she
yeah.
has to be like, "Well, if I'm better than him, how is he going to feel?" It's like, I don't know.
Well,
It's
and
it
like that's a sad reality that some women have to face because men are fragile little baby egos. Why would we want that from our book boyfriend?
I
Like
know.
why do I want to
The same thing
see
happened to Castile.
my book boyfriend portraying the same toxic fragile male ego shit that I have to deal with in real life? This is fantasy. He has wings and shadow tendrils and a larger primal dick.
Yeah.
Why does he also have to be
Why does he
insecure?
also yeah, like, why can't he be like, fine, put it in there where she cares about him, we see that, but like also then be like, yeah, but I don't care, Sarah. And we're like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like, yeah, because he rocks and he's supportive and he's the
Yeah.
best. But the same thing happened in the From Blood and Ash portion of the series with
Mhm.
Castile. Like, in that, there's one of the like main love interests is like very powerful and like can do no wrong and like
Yeah.
will save the day, and then quickly becomes just like a side piece, and you're just like, what happened? Like, and he doesn't lose his powers, so he just doesn't
No.
use them.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I wrote down while reading this chapter 32 thoughts. Dot dot dot. Let me guess. She's pregnant. I knew that she's going to be pregnant at some point,
I
but
mean,
come on,
yeah.
like it's so funny. So I just laugh whenever I see authors finally decide to put in that, their
My
the
morning
pregnancy.
sickness.
Yeah, it's like I don't know why. And then I think it was like 10 chapters later.
It took forever,
It took
especially considering
forever.
JLA knows that we know she's gonna get knocked up.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a spoiler. That's like part of the lore.
I don't know. I think she could have
Uh,
capitalized on it earlier. Yeah.
I didn't like the like capital mom. Like, nothing makes me more powerful than being a mom and having children and have something to fight for. Like, I'm like, sure.
Not my fantasy book.
You know what? And maybe JLA's audience is primarily women in their like late 30s, 40s, and maybe they really want the powerful mom, but I don't know.
That's
I
fine.
and
I
I
don't
get
know.
it. I really do. But there is just like a cliche overuse,
Of it.
especially like she's like pregnant and she's instantly capital mom. It's like watching the fucking like Once Upon a Time TV show. Rewatching it with Jacob. And the main character goes around and she's like, and you're gonna do this and this and this and this. And she's like, and I'm the leader. And he's like, well, why are you the leader? And she goes, because I'm a mother. I will survive because I'm a mother.
You're like, oh God. I didn't like this next part, of course, but reading this book,
Mm-hmm.
when you're like so numb and you're like,
Yeah.
just pinch me, like give me some, rock my world because this book sucks. I said, thoughts while reading, chapter 40. She returns to Wayfair. Her family dies. What a plot twist. Finally. I
Finally.
said, why? Because this book has been boring. I was like, did I want to see Ezra pinned to the wall, like staked to the wall dead? Absolutely not. Did it hurt? Kind of. But I was like, you know what? This adds plot. This adds substance. This is great. I don't know why it has to be chapter 40, but it could have happened earlier in the book. But you know what? Let's go. Her family died.
Her family died. Something happened. A visual representation of chapter 40.
Guys. Yeah.
Look at how little bit of the book is left when something finally happens. All of that happened
Filler.
before. It is page 465 that we are like, thank God her family died. Thank God her family was brutally killed. So that way something is happening. Because honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have somehow survived.
I thought they were, but I was happy.
So I
I was
agree.
happy
I
too.
agree.
I mean, the thing about the story is a prequel, so like everyone has to die eventually.
Well,
She's
and it raised
immortal.
the stakes. Like for Sarah to have to go through that and it to be in part because of like their decisions and stuff. Not that
Yeah.
I like the messaging that like it happened because she wasn't a monster enough to begin with. But no, that was interesting. I was like, oh shit, something's actually happening.
Yeah, exactly. I at the end, once again, this is all at the end, everyone. I liked the character development of like Atez's character, how we find out how he's actually like in love with Satoria, and I actually think, well, we know he's with Lila, like, and that's why they ascend her right to his position
Yeah.
because when Satoria is reborn, he doesn't want to be around. Like he wants her to choose, and it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to give you this light and dark of like what Colas has done versus Ates, and like
Yeah.
what is love. Love isn't always saving someone; it's letting them choose
Mm-hmm.
how they want to be loved. And
Yeah.
so he's basically like, I'm not going to tell her, I'm not going to make her love me. She can choose to love who she wants. And then he moved on and find someone different, and we know he has kids in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like one of those things that's like, okay, like, this is cool. I really enjoyed this. And they
Yeah.
even pushed him. They're like, don't go into stasis. Why are you going into stasis? He's like, no, I have to. And he
Yeah.
had that boundary, and I was like, let's go.
No, that was literally so good. I want to also bring up that when he talks about that, we have now jumped to page 633. We have jumped 200 pages in order to find the next interesting thing to talk about. I agree with everything you said. I also marked in this same section. This is chapter 59.
Look at us.
Sorry. Page 663 is where this happens. Even worse. Okay. But so in this conversation where Ates is talking about how he's in love with Satoria, which we know is Poppy, which means that Poppy's really collecting them all.
She really
And
is.
and on that topic, Sarah says, "Do you think it's possible to love two people at the same time?" Oh no, Ates said that. And Sarah says, "I think it depends on the person." And I think that's foreshadowing for Poppy to be in a full blown throuple with Kyrian and Castile next book.
Oh,
I
Karen
think
and
that was
Castile.
weaved in there to get Sarah's permission and start like foreshadowing to the audience that Castile and Kyrian and Poppy are going to be a throuple.
Which I have to say, I don't know if I personally like don't want that, but I know everyone else does, so I'm with the girlies on this one.
I feel like
It's
she
unconventional
intro-
for me in like my mind, but it's a fantasy book.
Yeah. I feel like it could have been done a little bit better. There was so much hype around the joining, which I kind of talked about earlier,
I know.
and then it fell so flat
Yeah.
because she would like it's almost as if she was like we're like climbing up the like diving board and we're getting to the very edge and we're all so excited and nervous to jump, and then JLA was like, "Oh, but what if people don't like if we jump? Let's go down and let's go to like a
Yeah,
lower
that's
diving board."
true.
And she made it so vague. And then Castile's gone and
Vague.
she has this like budding romance with Kyrian, but she also can't commit to it because it's kind of fucked if Poppy and Kieran get together while Castile's literally being tortured. So like we
Well,
couldn't
that's
actually
the
do anything
thing.
there.
That's the thing I think
Yeah.
is that we don't fully know what Poppy thinks about it, not to go off on another book series, but so
Yeah.
then in this book we're like, well, are we on Homegirl's side or are we not? And then
Yeah.
we're left to do it with our own morals, which is I don't want to be in a throuple in real life, so why would I want it in my book? Versus if she showed it like, no, this is something that happens in this world, and like then
Yeah.
I'd be more comfortable with it. But moving on,
Anyways.
to the fight scenes. Obviously, Aubrie and I aren't going
Uh-huh.
to just like ramble on about war, but they fight, and let's just go to the death scene, okay? So
Yeah. Which is
they're
like the last 30 pages of the book.
yeah, they're getting ready for like the blowing kill for
Mhm.
Colas, and Sarah turns to it was Ates, right? And she's like, "Are you impartial to that dagger?" And he's like, "No, not really." So she's like, "I want this dagger to be given to Satoria one day to finally kill him
Mhm.
because she knows that they can't. It's not able.
Yeah.
They're not. They can't kill him." And so I'm really excited for that dagger to come back, which it does. And
Yeah.
so I'm really excited. It will be back. I thought that was really cool to see.
Mhm.
Um, and the rest here is literally the last 5 pages of the book. So if there's anything else you would like to add to that, then go ahead. But if not, we can.
I think they annoyed me. I didn't like Ash kept telling everyone don't let this leave a mark. Like I think war should leave a mark even if the violence is necessary, and I don't like the romanticization of violence and killing people. Even in my fantasy books, like I want it to happen, but I want it to be sad that it's happening and brutal and intense. And I don't want it to be like, no, we'll just kill everyone here and it's not going to leave a mark because we're such good people who love violence and get off on killing people.
Oh yeah, I think we should also mention Sarah's Notum is a cat.
Oh, yeah. Just, which, isn't it kind of weird that Castile's Noda, whatever, is a cave cat and so is Sarah's? It's
I'm
kind of like, why does my boyfriend have the same Notum as my, like,
grandma.
grandma? Like, are we related? That's what I'd be thinking. I'd be if I was Poppy and I found that out, I'd be like, wait a minute.
I was
I
reading
feel
something about how all of the primals and gods and how they're related to the new characters, and I don't have it off the top of my head. There is some reason for that. I
Oh,
just yeah, there's
I don't know.
connection, and I'm sure if someone makes it to the end of this video or this podcast, they're gonna be like, "Well, actually, blah blah blah." Okay, go ahead, queen. Go off and do it in the
Yeah,
comments, but like be
please.
accurate when you say it because I'm gonna read that as fact.
Yeah,
So
we need it, honestly.
and
If you
quite
guys know
honestly,
more.
then go. If you're a big JLA fan, then school me, tell me all the facts, so then I have them. But quite frankly, like I'm just not that interested. So she's a cave cat and she like goes feral and it's so funny to hear about. But happy to see that. Oh, two things.
Yes.
The two things I have left here are the
Mhm.
whole consort thing. So in the
Okay,
books,
yeah.
in the from Blood and Ash books, they go to Elysium to find Nyktos, the primal
Mhm.
of life, and they're like, "Hey, we need your help." And he's like, "But the consort's asleep." And we're like, "We don't give a fuck about your bitch. Like, we
Yeah.
need you." Well, now it makes
Uh-huh.
sense, and we know it's to protect Satoria, aka Poppy.
So the prophecy says that Poppy will bring about the end of world when she speaks the true primal of life's name. And so Sarah's mastermind plan was to never let Poppy learn her name. And so Sarah is kind of erases herself from history to be just this consort figure. Sarah's also the like original maiden, like in the first From Blood and Ash book, when Poppy's like, there was technically like there's the maiden statue that she visits in the gardens, like that's of Sarah, which is kind of cute. But yeah, so she like made this sacrifice so that way Poppy can never speak her name.
But then
Which
she had
also
kids. I like when
makes
the girl's
sense.
like, "You're selfish." They're like, "Oh, the fate," or like whatever was like,
Yeah, yeah,
"You're
yeah.
selfish for having these children."
Oh, well, so I get she's already pregnant. But it's like, okay, your bloodline is going to bring about the end of the world. And she goes, "Well, I'm having them." And then Sarah says, "Well, my kids can never have kids. Like, I'm going to get to have kids because I found out I was pregnant and I didn't want kids originally, but now I'm really excited to have kids. But these bitches are not allowed to have children." Like, what a fucked up thing to be like, I'm not going to make the hard decision. I'm going to make my children to make it. And then obviously they don't.
That
But I also am
that
pretty
is
sure
generational trauma.
they end up having, I'm pretty sure puppies came about because of like sexual assault. So it's just the situation's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Really fucked up.
But it was really cool to hear about the second daughter will be born in a
Yeah.
shroud, and like it's like, oh my god, we've known this story for literally 10 years, and
Mhm.
like now like we're able to finally see like
Yes.
the origin. Like it was really fun to see. So the whole consort thing makes sense, and that's good for me. My
Mhm.
favorite thing about this, because it's one of my favorite characters and all the from Blood and Ash series, is
Ooh.
Sarah makes Victor promise to protect Satoria, aka Poppy, when she is
Yes.
reborn. So
Mhm.
now we know that Victor is the original Victor. Like, isn't that so cool? Satoria was born in a Poppy. That means Victor was the original, and his last words to her when he died were like failing her were even like deeper
Yeah.
than we know.
Yeah.
The
Because
fact.
he promised to do this,
And so I
which
think
is
that's
very sad. But I think he's going to come back because he can't actually die. Like he died there. But what's special about him is that he gets to remember all of his life iterations.
Yes, and usually Victors don't.
Yes. So, I mean, I'm hoping,
How cool is that though?
honestly,
I thought it was really cool.
part of my threat for this next book needing to be great, bring back Victor.
Victor was like like my favorite character in book one. So
Yeah.
I was
It was
like,
so
when he
brutal when
died,
he
I
died.
literally teared up, and I only cried once, and that was
Yeah.
reading Fourth Wing. So I was like, you know what? This is crazy.
Yeah.
So we still do not know a lot, and we will probably find that out through dialogue in the next book. But we're gonna find that out through Poppy's story.
Yes.
But those for me were my big heavy hitters of things I'm
Yes.
excited about, if you could call it that.
I hope there's another twist with the prophecy. I'm excited to see where this ends up.
Yeah, because
And
Sarah
I'm
kind of changed it because she was the first daughter, right?
Well, no, Sarah's not the first daughter. Um, Poppy's older sister, who's a revenant like Callum, is the first daughter.
Right.
Which is interesting that it was Poppy's older sibling and Satora's older sibling is Callum.
Oh no, that's what I but Sarah is she's not the
Nothing.
second daughter. She shouldn't have survived what she did, but she
Oh, so
did.
Sarah
Sorry, I may have said the wrong girl.
Satoria because she was a first daughter and not
And
a
they
second
fucked up
daughter.
but
she's
the
not
thing.
the first daughter from the prophecy.
Right.
That's the girl who's mated with Castiel's brother that I don't remember her name.
Right.
I'm very excited
Millicent.
for the potential of the next book.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Sarah's story is ended and wrapped up. I thought like having them have their little sex scene and their little found family was like a cute way to wrap the story up. I'm hoping that Sarah also, I would love to get POV chapters from her in the current
When
in the
she's like an
main
old lady.
storyline. I think that kind of dilutes Poppy's story, but maybe not.
I think we should do like girl power, right? Like
Yeah.
it's us versus them sort of mentality. Since she never really
So
had a mother. So
it could be very interesting. It could also be horrible.
And you're gonna find out because we're gonna review it.
Because we will read it.
Because we are pushovers and don't know how to say no. And I'm already in so deep. So with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in to this review of Born of Blood and Ash. I had to look at it because I'm tired of these ofs and the
Because
bloods
who
and
knows?
yeah, I'm over it.
Prediction for the next book title: Ash Born into Blood.
Ash Born into Blood. Fire.
Love y'all.
Fire and light in the blood and the ash.
Fire in the flame of the ash.
Of the ash. Oh yes. All right, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Can please like, subscribe, comment, be nice to us or not. If you're gonna hate on someone, go hate on JLA, not on us. We do not shoot the messenger.
I'm kidding. Don't go leave snake emojis on her.
Do
post.
not.
But you can let her know how much you didn't like the book because that's fair and square.
Yes.
Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us and happy reading.
The book really sucked.
Yeah. It was horrible. I do not recommend.